Hey, this is Pat from Asteroid X, and this is the story. Okay, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Okay, this is the story of how we took an official Everlast distributor from 600,000 in annual run rate, it's pretty good, all right, to 5 million in annual Amazon sales in just 5 months. And it seems, the fantastical, right? How would you scale so fast with and profitably too? We generated a profit on it. Well, here's how. So the Everlast distributor in question was when they first came to us, 7,000, 8,000 a month in monthly revenue, something like that, which is, obviously fine. It's healthy, right? But not a lot going on the Amazon front. Of course, they had other channels that were doing quite well, but Amazon was just never really in the spotlight, and it was never a priority. And so they had a great brand, but it did not translate into Amazon that well. It was not an Amazon native, not an Amazon savvy strategy. And so because the channel wasn't being treated seriously, the sales weren't serious either, but that obviously changed quite quickly. So this is an aggregate sort of amount of sales from seller and vendor central together. So they're, both at the time. If you took what we did in this most recent month, 5 million a year, if you consistently deliver on that, which is pretty crazy. That's a great transformation, and it's happened, time and time again. Here's 360K in value in 3 months. This is an Inc. 500 company based out of Texas, one of the 500 fastest growing private companies in the U.S. And when we did the initial audit for Mike's his name, Mike Williams, when we did the initial audit for Mike, there was a lot of wasted spend. So when you have an account that's large and there's a lot of spending going on globally, it's hard to tell exactly what's slipping through our fingers and is not resulting in any return. But we have ways of finding it, so we found it all, and I'll go over some of these ways. But yeah, there's about 120,000 that was being spent without any return. We cut that, and at the same time, because it's not resulting in any return, you're not sacrificing any revenue to get rid of that spend. You're just cutting the waste, right? And then scale up the revenue as well, and that happened in 3 months. This is a Disney distributor case study. So these guys are actually based out of Canada as well. We're up in Toronto, Canada. So hello from the north. And it's these guys sell comfy, cozy gowns and robes, and Q4 was everything, absolutely everything in this game. And so because of this seasonal pattern, they brought us on in the fall because they knew that we were going to have to sort of hit a home run for Q4. So that extra firepower, we worked with their in-house team to go, okay, what have you got? Let's study your current data. Let's study last year's seasonal trends, and let's just absolutely hit this one out of the park. And we did, and $1 million run rate. So good stuff. So who's this for, right? You've seen a few examples. This is for a company that's really serious about building a brand for the long term. And the reason brand is important, and I'll get into exactly why brand equals profit, but if you have a brand and you're wrapping a bunch of positive associations up with your product, you can command a higher price point. That means more margins, and you can reinvest those margins into growth. Whereas if you're a commodity, you're kind of stuck at certain limited margins, not enough room to finance growth, and so that's why we want to work with brands. So building a brand, and for the long term. If you're hopping on a product-based trend, that's a flash in the pan product. We can't help because a lot of the growth is compounded, and it comes from collecting data and scaling up over time. So that's a useful use case and something to keep in mind. You may have some team members who work on the Amazon effort in the company. People managing inventory, people shipping orders, people making sure you don't run out of stock. And that's fine. And the revenue is also there. You guys have got some traction. But not the explosive growth that you might have suspected back in the day would come from Amazon. I mean, over half of the e-commerce purchases are from Amazon. Why isn't Amazon a bigger channel for us? And it's not your fault. It's that a lot of the time the expertise just doesn't live in the institution to be Amazon native, except for brands that are born on Amazon and really just push the limits of that platform because that's their only revenue stream. Most brands don't have Amazon all the way figured out, right? And even even if you do have some good revenue coming from Amazon, there's no saying that there couldn't be more revenue as well. Case in point, you see these upstart competitors. who are these guys? They are just shooting up the page, and they are ranking on the first page for terms that are your terms and the terms that you should be owning. But for whatever reason, they came up overnight, and you're kind of wherever you are. Again, not your fault. They probably just have access to tips, tools, tactics, software that you currently don't have, and they're doing better as a result. But that's not a permanent sort of fixed situation. You do maybe realize that if they stay up there, they'll take your market share and take your sales. They'll grow. Their review count will go up faster. They will become the new normal. But of course, that's something that we'd want to prevent and stop in its tracks right now. So here's the core concept. If you get this, everything will make sense. And I'll break this down. The fastest way to your next $1 million on Amazon, $1 million annually, whatever your goal is, the next million, 2, 3, 4, or 5 million, is to run Amazon PPC, so pay-per-click ads, to branded, optimized listings. So branded, that's what we talked about, right? You're wrapping your product in a bunch of positive associations and for a specific demographic. They know who it's for. And optimized listings. Again, Everlast, great brand, but not optimized for Amazon, not native to the channel, so didn't do well. A few $1,000s a month. But you pair the two, and then there's a crazy chemical reaction that happens. This scales profitably because Amazon ads target ready-to-buy shoppers. So if you picture a sales funnel, a giant sales funnel for the internet, people search for Google for information. They search for Facebook to keep in touch with friends and family. And Instagram, same thing, all the social media. But they go to Amazon to research and then make purchases in pretty short order. If you imagine a funnel for people buying stuff online, Amazon is right at the bottom of that funnel. So these people are ready to buy, and more than that, Amazon has a business moat of control around Amazon Prime users. These people trust Amazon. They have credit cards on file with Amazon. They're paying annually to even be on Amazon and get free shipping. So Amazon has a very strong hold on the buyers that it does acquire. More people in the US have Amazon Prime than put up a Christmas tree every year. The market penetration is astonishing. As you know, Amazon is one of the world's first $1 trillion companies. It's no coincidence because they have this locked in. So you can tap into all of these resources. Amazon's built the infrastructure. They have the railroad tracks. All you need to do is ride the tracks, but properly, right? There's a bunch of moving pieces. Most teams don't have sufficient Amazon advertising skills in-house and need outside help. Again, not your fault. It's just that the expertise does not natively live in the organization, and that's fine. That's where we come in. AsteroidX is the only company dedicated to helping brands get the next million quickly with the right blend of human expertise and software. So if you, I don't know if you recall the last time you were at a bank, right? Banks have ATM machines for quick, monotonous transactions, and those ATMs can stay open 24 hours. So that's great for an ATM, and that's kind of like software, right? But then they have bank tellers for strategic advice, for financial planning, for just any strange, anomalous question that comes up. You need both, right? So I think if you look at Amazon ads in general, there's people who advocate for software because it can automate things, and there's people who advocate for a human touch because it's the best strategically. And what we found over the last few years is that both are true, right? In an ads context, you want a software scanning everything all the time to see if are we out of the buy box today in the last hour? Could we get the buy box back and regain some money that we lost? What terms, like to the point where with the iRelieve example, the Mike Williams one, like what is actually wasting spend, and can we cut it immediately to save that money, to save that $120K a year? Can we do that? Because if so, the software will let us know that. So that's what we do. But also the human, right? The human is good for growth and for creativity. So understanding our product, what the psychology of the buyer is on Amazon who's purchasing it and running ads according to that. What are our competitors doing? Where's the space moving? And what it is that we could be doing differently and better than the competitors? And what can we learn from the competitors? So it's both, right? So this is the core concept. The next million on Amazon is from ads, a brand, and optimized listings. You can scale it because the shoppers are easy to reach. They're already on Amazon. And you need a blend of human expertise and software, which is what AsteroidX can provide. So, by the way, hello. My name's Pat, and I'm the CEO and co-founder here at AsteroidX. And I started selling products from my dorm room. at 18, 19 years old, I was just selling mostly men's accessories, so wallets, hats, scarves, stuff like that. I would just sell to my friends, and then to my friends' friends, and whoever would listen, basically, right? But then, I thought, okay, this is kind of neat. I can sell some product, and I love doing this, but because I like the feeling of giving someone something tangible and changing their life like that. Like that was cool for me. So I liked making the stuff and then selling the stuff, which is still what I do. I looked online though, because online has scale beyond your college dorm room. So I launched on Kickstarter, which is a product launch platform. At age 21, we sold 100K of product on there. I went door to door and sold to physical retailers. So we did wholesale deals to stores around Toronto, or the GTA, or the Greater Toronto Area, as they call it. To road trip to Quebec to sell there. I tried a bunch of stuff, right? I eventually looked to Amazon because I thought, again, like what we were talking about, like such a big part of e-commerce, it's the elephant in the room. So, even if they're going to take 15% referral fee and they're going to charge you for FBA and for storage, like I have to have a part of this market to get share, to introduce myself to customers. And then if I do it right, I could probably make a profit. So I launched on Amazon. I then built up a launch protocol to launch and get reviews for my own products. So that was launched, and we had 50,000, shopper users for that, and grew that up. And Asteroid X, which is where we are now, was launched a few years ago to focus exclusively on the ads problem, because the ads platform is still so young, but their ability to generate profit is so great. So it's just a timing thing, right? Like as we are talking today, the Amazon ad platform is 5 to 8 years behind Google and Facebook in terms of sophistication, targeting. So if you master it now and you get in now, some of your competitors are not there. Some of them don't know how to use it. But you can and should master this platform soon, in the next 6 to 12 months. You can make money on it, but also you have that muscle built up, and you can just grow it from there. So stepping back at a top level, okay, there's really 3 things that we're going to be considering. So as we talked about, right, a strong brand and optimized for Amazon. That's the first step. That enables you to have these killer margins where you make more money per unit than your competitor because of the brand. You have a higher conversion rate. So great, right? So that's the foundation on which this is built. Then you could say, okay, I have a good brand. I'm pretty sure I do. Let me just I'll just ramp up advertising. Fair enough. Fair enough. It might work, but you probably will waste a lot of money doing that. What if the data could whisper a secret to us instead? For example, when we run our audit process, not all products are created equal, right? You know this from selling on other channels and on Amazon as well. 1 in 10 products does super well. The rest are like base hits in baseball. So you have 1 home run and you have many base hits and some strikeouts, but we don't talk about those. So, if we ran an audit on the account, we could identify right away what are the products that convert best, right? So those are probably the ones that are worth investing in. If a product converts well on another platform but not on Amazon, is it just because it's not optimized? It's probably not a bad product. Like, is there an error there? Is there something we're missing? Is it in the wrong category? Is the photo funky? Is our price not competitive? Do we lose the buy box? There's a bunch of stuff you can tell from the data. And we track all of that. We read it. And then we get more. So you can actually run these automatic campaigns. You've probably heard of them. They're not to get sales, not as the first priority at least. We run them to gather information, because it's Amazon's algorithm auto-matching our listing to shoppers. And what happens in between is the valuable data. We can run these at a very low cost, so the experimentation is very cheap. It's break-even or profitable. And we run that for about 30, 60 days to see, on top of the account data that already exists, like the historical data, what else can we learn? And then you scale it, right? Like, once you have a good product, good brand, optimized listing, you've harvested the data on all the products and the account in total, the account health, you can then scale it. And that's a very strong foundation on which to scale it, because Trading $1 in ad spend for $4, $5 in revenue, that's fine. But it just gets scary, and you can't make any mistakes when you're trading $100,000 for $400,000. Because what happens if that $100,000 in spend remains, but you lose some revenue? You're in the hole. So it's best to have a good, strong foundation that is data backed. So let's start here. Let's talk about brand, and then we'll go from there. So I was early 20s, and I was in a store that I was selling to. I was selling wholesale to this store, and I asked the guy, it looks something like this. This is a replica that I found online of my memory of the store. It was men's accessories for the most part. It was a clothing store. I was selling some wallets and sunglasses, and I asked him, okay, what's it like selling clothes? Do you like it? And he goes, I don't sell clothes. I sell confidence. And something clicked for me in that moment, because I was like, okay, well, I thought you just sold jeans, but okay, that's kind of weird. What? And he, sort of explained, I sell a feeling. I sell a confidence and a feeling to people, and the clothes are just the vehicle for selling that feeling. I said, okay, all right, I'm starting to get it, because it was a very high-end clothing store, and why would anybody on earth buy jeans? You can buy jeans of reasonable quality for $25, $30. Why do people spend $500, $600 on jeans and clothes, and why do they do that? It's because of brand. Brand is particularly pronounced in clothing because it's conspicuous consumption. It can be, like showing off, but not always. Here's some more examples. Nike shoes. Supreme famously sold a brick for $200 with their logo on it. Starbucks, Rolex, Apple. These guys, they've mastered the game, the product game, as you should. What these guys have done is they've transcended the inherent limitations that come with profits on products. By this I mean, if you imagine a graph, right, where every time you sell a unit, you have this variable cost associated with it, which is the COGS, or the cost of goods sold, right? Every time you sell a pair of shoes, you pay, say you sell the pair of shoes for $50, and your cost is $10, so you lose $10 every time you sell that unit, right? But what if your costs remain largely the same? What if your cost remained $10, but you could sell that same pair of shoes not for $50, but for $100 and get a 10x return on the COGS? The only way to do that is to wrap your product in positive brand associations over time. So you have to repeat a message that this is for this specific person, and this product is going to give you this feeling guaranteed. Pay more for the feeling. Because people are going to be willing to pay more for a feeling than almost anything. If you ask people what the meaning of life is, they'll say it's to be happy. And happiness is a feeling, and that is a feeling that is prized above all else. And so if your product, in some small way or a large way, can contribute to that brand and give them that feeling that they're looking for, that hole in the soul, you can transcend the limited margins of product forever. But you have to make that association. Speaking of which, just some examples of brands with strong associations that you'll never forget. And this is ranked by color, which is interesting, right? Like there's a lot of thought that goes into this. A brand is, a creation of the company involved. It doesn't usually happen by accident. It happens over time and through repetition, i.e., marketing, a coherent message for a certain kind of person told over time. This breaks the cycle and introduces a new cycle that I call the profit cycle. So if you're selling a brand and not a commodity, and you wrap your product in positive emotions through marketing, you break the ceiling, right? The customer is going to pay $100 for that pair of shoes and not $50. But your product cost has remained pretty similar. So that's awesome, because you have higher margins, which means more money in your pocket, but the cycle doesn't end there. Because you had the brand in the first place, the customers will then pay more. But then you have that profit left over. Don't forget, you have that extra $50, from that pair of shoes. So what are you going to do with it? You could pocket it, Or you could grow with it. You could reinvest actively the profit into more marketing, which reinforces the brand, and customers pay more for that brand, and you have the profit to reinvest in marketing, and you sell a brand, and customers pay more for the brand, and it cycles and cycles and cycles. Whereas you can stay stuck at the bottom with a commodity, which is the other alternative. Sell dish rags for $5. Your cost is $1, $1.50, $2. Pocket $2-3 every transaction, and obviously you've heard the phrase "make it up in volume," right? It's totally doable. Walmart works on this, on this premise, right? That they just move a lot. They're America's store and they move a lot of volume. That's fine. That calls for a different muscle, and it's a logistics muscle, right? So assume that that's not you with a strong logistics framework. It might be. Right, in which case, definitely go for it. But the easiest, again, we're talking about the fastest way to the next million, the best way, is to build this brand. And who says that you can't have both, right? Apple operates stores worldwide and enjoys the margins of Ferrari. So if you have scale and margin, well, you're a very valuable company indeed. So, the winds are changing. The winds are blowing in a direction, and that direction is brand. So Amazon is introducing a bunch of new tools for brands specifically, by name even. They call it out. They have brand registry status, which is a special status for brands who have a trademark, and they can go apply for that. And it unlocks a bunch of other functionality on Amazon that you wouldn't have otherwise, including something like this Pampers case where you can put rich media, text, photos, images, and they've just rolled out videos via sponsored brand. So you can now, with Asteroid X and with the sponsored brand videos, launch an ad, which is a video for mobile and desktop that grabs their attention. They watch it, they click through, they purchase. But again, you're still on that low part of the funnel where they're seeing a video like on YouTube or Facebook, but they're already on Amazon, a place that they know and trust and buy from constantly. So that's just dynamite. And not a lot of people are doing that. So that's a crazy opportunity. Again, it has to be a strong brand optimized for Amazon. Amazon has their own rules of the jungle when it comes to being found on Amazon. Like, are you familiar with website SEO? Do you know that, like, to get a website found on a Google search engine through search, you have to build backlinks and you need keyword density and, all that stuff, right? Time on site is a measurement. Amazon has all of these same things, and they're all different from something like a Google, right? Amazon is basing ranking primarily on purchases and on conversion rates and on estimated profits for Amazon, the company themselves, a bunch of things, right? So if you're not familiar, you won't get the Amazon sales. If you speak the language, you will get the Amazon sales, and easily too, because again, strong platform. This is a prime example, right? An Amazon prime example. But yeah, like Everlast was a prime example of this, because strong brand, but $7,000 a month, right? How do you have a strong brand that only brings in $7,000 a month? You deserve to be making more, which is what we thought as well, right? And it was just crazy, right, that they weren't making more, but now they are because of the Amazon playbook. So again, strong brand is not enough. You must optimize that strong brand for Amazon. You can't just optimize for Amazon and sell crap. But if anything, if I'm being honest, if you're optimizing for the platform, even that does better than a strong brand without any, Amazon optimization, because you can hack the platform. I don't recommend that, but they're if you follow Amazon best practices on how to get found on the search engine and you're a no-name product, even that will do better than your household name with no presentation at all. And yeah, speaking of the profit cycle, like this was us, right? And you could play this Tri-Deer boxing glove game. Like, these guys are $20. That's worth twice the price. So why on earth would anybody buy ours? Well, they do, and we make twice the profit, right? Like, it's so you choose who you'd rather be, right? These guys have to make it up in volume. They don't get to put as much product expense into their good because it's not as high quality, because they can't afford to, because they charge less. I'm not saying you have to be top of market, but just be up market, at least mid to high in your market is a good place to be. Some Q&A then. Like, what if I don't have a strong brand? I'm not Everlast. I totally get it. Everlast was founded in 1910. Nobody has time for that. So what is the workaround? The workaround is basically to be hyper specific. If you don't have time, if you can't go long, you have to go deep. So you have to sell a positive emotion to a really specific type of person, master that market, master that niche, get really, really focused, forsake all other options, and then expand out, over years, months and years, to concentric circles, right? So rock climbing equipment for kids, right? It's not just belays for just anybody, rock climbing equipment for anyone, harnesses for anyone. It's rock climbing equipment. I make it for kids. It's eco-friendly. You have an angle suddenly. If you yell out, "Hey everyone," in Times Square, no one's going to turn around. They've heard that before. If you yell, "Hey Richard," right, you're going to get somebody, and the acquisition cost will be less than a blanket sort of advertising effort. So, yeah, how do I know if it's going to work? The best predictor is already in you. It's already in the Amazon account. So if you have a 10% conversion rate, if you go to business reports, unit session percentage, you'll be able to see what you're converting at right now out of Seller Central or Vendor Central. And you'll say, okay, we get worried if brands are converting at less than 10%. So in other words, like if you have 100 sessions, if people are buying less than 10 units on that, we do get worried. And you might be thinking, 10% seems really high. It is high for e-commerce. If you set up a Shopify store tomorrow and you started selling, you'd get a 1% to 2% conversion rate on that traffic. You set up on Amazon tomorrow, you get a 10% conversion rate on that traffic because, again, the people are Prime members. They have a credit card on file. They trust Amazon. They know Amazon is super aggressive on behalf of the customer, issuing refunds, at the slightest sign of trouble. Returns, which as a seller, I understand is annoying, but it's all about the customer. And so because that trust, that brand to the point is built up on Amazon side, you have 10% conversion rates. So, but yes, the data is already there. Let's talk about the second step now. We're moving along nicely. We've got the brand covered. We've got Amazon optimization covered. What about harvesting the data? Because you might be tempted at this point. I have a strong brand. My conversion rates are good. Let's just jump in. You could. Again, it might work. But let's be scientific about it. Because if we do a research period now, it'll save hundreds of thousands of dollars in wasted spend later. And I think that would be a good thing, because you could pay some college funds on that money. So harvest market data. Okay. I actually, so for this slide, I researched how to mine gold, and it looks like this. There's 10 steps to it. Apparently, I wasn't aware, but when before they mine any gold at all, they scan the ground. They do their research, and a startling statistic: less than 0.1% of prospected sites, even of the sites that they prospect, will lead to a productive mine. And same is true here. I think the percentage is a little bit higher than 0.1%, but it's a crazy low number. And so if you're mining for gold, don't start digging around initially. Like, don't just dive in without any research, scan, and then dig with precision. So here's a cool story. This is Dave. This is Dave right here. And Dave launched a product called the Basic Garden Tool, or BGT for short. And Dave pretty much invented this product. He made the first units by hand and still has a hand in crafting the handles on these things. And this is, and he does these videos, these explainer videos with his parrot on his shoulder. We love Dave, and Dave sent us a BGT unit to our office in Toronto, and it is proudly displayed to this day. But that is neither here nor there. But Dave, just if you're watching this, just you should know I'm proud of you. And yeah, Dave was again a few thousand, and year on year we're at 7,000, which for an invention which is being created by hand. We're getting to some scale here, and obviously we're not done, right? But so year on year to be up 5,000 a month, okay, fair enough. The point here is really that we had to harvest data because we didn't know. This is a new invention. We had no idea if this was a rake or it's a hoe or what people are going to be searching for when they buy this. So instead of just assume that, okay, they're going to search garden tool, they're going to search that, and we're going to put all our chips on there. We didn't do that. We put out our feelers. We collected data, stuff that was already there, but also we made a proactive effort to collect new data and we collected it, and it went much better. And year on year, we're doing so great. So here's just an example for you of a few things that we look at. So here, for example, is the buy box percentage. So if you're a private label brand, in other words, if you're the only seller of your product and you fully control the Amazon presence, this should be close to 100%, right? But if it's not, and you're a distributor or a reseller, or you're representing a brand and you share the buy box with other people, this will greatly affect, in fact, how many sales you're actually able to get. Because if somebody's winning the buy box more than you, that's not gonna help, right? And so we have alerts in place to check on this. The unit session percentage, this is probably the king number to look at. Cheers to unit session percentage. But yeah, like this unit session percentage is what Amazon is the closest thing they have to conversion rate. So out of 100 sessions, how many units do you sell? This is a crazy unit session percentage at 57%. So 100 people see it, you sell 57 units. That's a crazy conversion. And so obviously our resources are best spent piling money into this to scale it. If we can get twice the sales on this at 57%, we're going to take that deal all day because it's going to be profitable. But something like that, just below that at 2.66%, if it's a business priority, of course we will push it. And if they're buying other stuff because they bought this or they're getting introduced to the brand, of course we will. But the cost of acquisition for this customer is going to be so much higher than a 57%. Because you know how we were talking about like COGS and scaling up your profit margins. The same is true with the ads, is like the cost per click stays the same, but the higher your conversion rate, the longer your clicks go, the farther you can stretch them. So 2.66, world of difference from 57. Interestingly though, this has brought in 11,000 in sales and this is 34,000. So this is not nothing. We're getting a lot of hits then, at 2.66%. So you got to wonder, is the traffic we're bringing in, is it the most qualified? Is there anything that could be changed in the listing? Do we have 4 out of 5 star reviews, and could this bump to 3% if we get those extra reviews? All these things, right? This data is telling us a story, and that's why it's important to harvest before you jump in. Again, this is a really cool graph out of Business Reports, and you can find this in any Seller Central account. It's reports, business reports, and then just graph it out on the left sort of sidebar there. And here I have graphed the sales, the views, and the conversions, right? So you can actually see over time. I have each dot on this graph is 1 week, and I have the last 6 months plotted out on this graph. You could see seasonal trends this way. You could see if our conversion rate is dropping. You could see if our buy box rate is dropping. You could see if our traffic is dropping. There's always a logical solution to any problem. If your sales are lower or flat, there is a reason, and we will find that reason, and you can find it just with your basic household supplies here at Seller Central. Yeah, so just more of a list of what to look at, right? All available historical data, organic sales data, like this and this. Like these are all sales data available out of Business Reports. Ad data. So what is the current cost of acquisition per customer? What is the cost per click? What is the conversion rate? This is so crazy too. You can understand the conversion rate on each keyword. Down to the keyword level, you could understand this. So you'd know exactly that if we put more money into, say, keyword A, and we have a great conversion rate on that because the ads are performing well, are there any other variants of keyword A that we could research and run ads for? What else is going on there? And conversely, for keyword B, we might have to bid down on it. There's a bunch of stuff. Automatic campaigns, again, these are these algorithmically driven campaigns that Amazon runs basically for you. You set the bid. We normally set them at 10, 20 cents to harvest any pieces that are sort of missing, products that we want data for that doesn't exist. And then in 30 to 60 days of prospecting, we have the data we need to drill into the ground and mine for that gold, but not until then, right? And in the testing, in this sort of harvesting phase, if we can't get a profitable ACOS as proof of concept, we may need to reposition the listing. So again, Amazon has so many tools for brands now to revamp and improve your listings, as well as the video ads. There's so much stuff that we could do to improve it. So if there is anything to improve the conversion rate that we can do, we will let you know. How long does it take? So again, some Q&A. How long does it take to harvest data? 30 to 60 days. What's a normal conversion rate? 10%. How much does it cost to collect the data? A few $1,000s, but this is not a few $1,000s out the window. This is a few $1,000s deployed systematically at break even or at a profit. So let's talk about this third step now. We've got our brand, we've harvested the data, so we have a strong brand, strong foundation data-wise. Now let's scale it. Okay, so this is where, this is the fun part, and this is where the money's made. So this is the most important and applicable for this chat. So here's what. I know there's a lot of text that just appeared, but it's the same thing over and over again. Every business has this unit case, we call it. So like if you deploy $1 in ad spend and you get $4 back in revenue as a result, that's what they call a 25% ACOS, so advertising cost of sale. This is just a dash sort of a shorthand measure for how well the ads are doing in terms of spend to sales ratio. So this is $1 to $4. If we can do that successfully, we'll want to spend $10 because again, same amount of same ratio at that 25%. Can we get $100 and turn to $400? Can we get $10,000 and turn to $40,000? And this is where you get into the $1 million territory. Can we turn $100,000 into $400,000? And again, and then you're talking $1 million into $4 million. These numbers change in terms of the amount of spend that's leaving the account, but the amount of profit that's coming back as a result of that transaction matches it. So it's 25% all the way down. Again, spend changes, but the ratio doesn't, so we scale profitably. This foundation, this will echo successfully across time if we have that strong data-backed foundation. And obviously it gets more complex. The complexity increases a lot as you go from spending $1 to $100,000, but the same principles apply. Speaking of scaling, right, we are on track for the $1 million annual mark. This is Dr. Stephen Gabriel. He is a MD from UCLA, and he sells his own, supplement products. He's got a video review on the site, and we scaled up year on year. We started in about August. So not much to remark on. The sales in August went up a few $1,000s, but it really wasn't until we started the scaling phase that things really started to take off, because we had sort of locked in to the working keywords, but it took a few months to get there. After we had it all dialed in, it was like sharpening a pencil. We knew exactly, okay, this keyword converts this well with this product at this price, and let's try to do more of that over and over again. If we increase the budget, can we scale the sales as well? And this is Ken and David. This is really cool. They have a podcast called Firing the Man. It's for sellers, and we've been working with both of these guys independently for the last couple of years, and the sales have triple-digit growth pretty much. So it's a 3x growth in sales. I guess the cool thing about this one is that these guys are in two totally different industries. They're both sellers, and they both use Seller Central, but that's about where the similarities end. So this is a playbook that is based on data as opposed to being relating to a specific market. So the principles hold no matter what, and you can scale it. A few questions then. How long does it take? Again, so we have 60 days of the harvesting, and then scaling is ongoing. We can get a good amount of scale done in the 90 days after the 60-day sort of harvesting period. But, the sky's the limit. It really depends on how much you want to make. And I would say also another limiting factor after a certain amount of time becomes how many different SKUs you have available on market. So we see sellers with more SKUs do a lot better than sellers with a few. You may get lucky. You may have one of those home run hits after launching just 3 SKUs. But the home run rate is more like 1 in 10, and even at that, you need multiple home runs to rack up a fair amount of Amazon profit. So that is just, if you think about it too, like there's only so many keywords that relate to a product. If you sell that dish rag, there's only so many keywords that relate to dish rags and related items, and so many other competitors to target. You can stretch it for sure. You can scale that, but then at a certain point, you need a new set of keywords, which calls for a new product on market, right? So more products equals more fish hooks in the water. that was actually longer. That was longer than what this question was asking, but there you go. What happens to the current campaigns? Amazon they love it when you have a campaign with some age behind it. So we want to reuse and repurpose as much as we possibly can to actually retain some of that juice that Amazon seems to love in older campaigns. Have you worked in my industry? Probably yes. We've helped hundreds of brands at this point in the last few years. And so if we haven't seen your market in particular, we've probably seen its cousin or something adjacent and can leverage that information. Obviously, all the stuff is kept private account to account, but we also see sort of these macro trends. And so we know exactly kind of how to deal with a case. It's, supplements are a certain way, pet products are a certain way, clothing is a certain way. We've seen these sort of trends and how to behave in each instance. And so that helps us navigate pretty much anything that we're given. So again, this is a summary of these sort of big high-level steps. Strong branded products optimized for Amazon, harvest data using historical reports, and then scale. You have to double down on what's working. And obviously the name of this game is to put dollars in your company's bank account. If it's not doing that, something is broken in the system and we have to fix it. So it needs to scale, yes, sure, but more important than that is profit. Yes. So option one, okay, obviously you can do this yourself for sure. There's a lot of stuff to take on though. It could take you a long time to define the brand and position it right on Amazon. It may not be Amazon optimized. There's a lot of material just on Amazon optimization alone. There's hours and hours of stuff to learn. What does a good title look like? Bullets, keywords, back-end terms, pricing, A/B testing on pricing, buy box issues, suspensions, competitor analysis. There's a few things, right? To that point, there is some problems around gathering insights around your current products and where to find the historical data. Where do I find my conversion rates? What's the traffic? What products are doing the best? What products convert the best for the keywords that I'm running in my ads? You could struggle to scale profitably. Okay, so the game gets more and more just high stakes as you scale it up. So a lot of people are comfortable spending $1 and getting back $4. It's a much riskier proposition, in some people's heads, to spend $100,000 and try to get $400,000 back. Because what happens if you only get $200,000 back? Then you're maybe at break even, or you lost some money. Or worst case, what if the spend, Amazon spend is going to spend no matter what. That's going to deploy. But if the return doesn't come back the other way, you could be up the creek without a paddle and $100,000 negative. So it's a risky proposition. As the scale increases, the stakes increase, but also, in economics, there's a risk to reward ratio. The riskier behavior has the corresponding reward. Same too with this, right? It all scales up at once. There's seller central issues, buy box stuff, suspension stuff that could arise and could cost money if not addressed right away. It's extremely challenging to line up all the pieces properly. So, yeah, even if you do have a team on it, multiple plates, and the expertise has to exist or else it can never scale. If you've never done this before, there's a good chance that you will fail or run out of money. And that's just unacceptable, right? A, because there's time that's wasting and competitors are getting better. And B, just for you being just profit conscious like this, it should work. And there's, everything's online and all the data is there. So there's no reason why it shouldn't work if it's done properly. So that's option one, doing it yourself. There are some pitfalls. It is doable. In an ideal scenario, but there's just some issues with it. And option two is working with Asteroid X. Like, we will work with you every step of the way to scale this up properly for you and profitably. And that is why we exist in the first place. It's for you guys. Again, harness the power of a very powerful shopping platform. Put your brand on it, get profits out the other end, and that is what we deliver. So, again, this is for brands with strong differentiated products. So if you have a truly unique value to the market that you're bringing, we would like to help you accentuate that and grow that. If you have something that is a commodity that is not particularly unique, it may be a problem to scale that up. Initial traction is great because it means that there's data that already exists and that we can leverage that data. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Again, we have no problem reinventing the wheel. It just takes more time. And so Scaling up could be more difficult. It would just take more time. But if you have faith in your brand with not a lot of traction, that's probably better than having initial traction and no brand. The traction is easier to correct, and that are hungry to scale on Amazon. So if you're happy with the amount of money that you're making and what your department's performance is as far as Amazon goes, I don't know how much more we can help, right? Like we really want to see these growth stories because it is satisfying to see a growth story. And that is a story worth telling. It's one worth living, and that's what we want to do. So, and again, yeah, just Everlast is scaled so nicely. Strong brand, no Amazon playbook. You plug in the Amazon ads and the playbook, you play it, $5 million a year, $360K in value in 3 months, 0.3 to $1 million in 4 months. These are real cases, and some more customers. So this one we had to, just because of problems with the virus, we had to pivot away from our travel products and pivot to something else. We did that. We put more of an emphasis on the rest of the catalog, sort of adjusting to the times, right? That's what humans are good at. Match that with the software and uptick in organic sales. Pretty cool. For this one, we set a goal of $2,000 a day. Good goal. Hit that goal. Took some days, weeks, but we got there. There were times when we were hovering around it, but we consistently been hitting those numbers more and more. And then just, I like this one because this is more of a character judgment, but this is grounded, proactive, and keep it real. And for the simple reason that there is a logical sort of solution to every problem, especially on Amazon where everything is digitized and all the data is there. There is a solution, and we're going to tell you what it is, even if that news is difficult, and even if it's a lot to take on. We want to be upfront with you about what this is going to take, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now. So we will give you a clear plan of action based on your existing data. So if you have some traction, you have some history, that's perfect. The data is going to tell a story, and we can kind of read those tea leaves and tell you what's going to happen next. We will then harvest the new data quickly and effectively. So we will not overspend. We do not have any interest in overspending. We just want that proof of concept and that initial data to be harvested so that we can build a foundation on which to build the rest of the business, basically. Capital efficiency is key, right? We are just partners in your business, so and we know that if you don't do well, like, we will not be working together. So this has to work, right? Scale sales while staying profitable. That is the ultimate magic trick, and that is what we do. Build an incredible brand for the long term. Yeah, depends on what the company's goals are. If you want to scale it and take the profits, you can do that. If you want to sell the business, you can do that. If you want to automate this, it can be done. We're a done-for-you service that goes end-to-end, so there's not a lot of time investment on your behalf. So, yeah, and again, we're on a wave here. This is Amazon taking over the world, so you can advertise in the number one spot on the most popular marketplace in the world and collect those sales, right? And hopefully build the ranking. Like, ideally, you advertise enough and you get the ranking. You don't have to advertise as often. You can rank right up there. Get some more additional organic juice off of that without the cost of acquisition. So how's it work? Again, we talked about this in those 3 steps. Here's sort of the 10 steps within 3, okay? Onboarding. So let's talk, and we have an in-depth questionnaire and an onboarding call followed by weekly calls every week. If you want, we could do fewer than that, but we mostly do weekly videos. And yeah, this is to understand everything: cost of goods, sales targets, inventory, SKUs, everything. Again, we're studying these business reports, and this is just checking the health of the brand right now. Are there any metrics which are like flashing on our dashboard that are like, oh my gosh, like, if we could only get more buy box percentage, we would get twice the sales. If we converted 1% better on our best seller, can you imagine what that would do? Stuff like that. This is a graph from organic sales. This is a graph from ads. We will take both of these data sets and integrate them and put them together and come up with a harvested picture. This is I couldn't fit this into the slide, but this is a bunch of new Asteroid X campaigns that are deployed all at the same time. This is the data harvesting campaign. So very low cost relatively. We're not optimizing for ACOS though, so they'll be closer to, profitable break-even territory than they will eventually be. But this is to gather information. Again, pretty low cost though, and then we will scale using that data. So again, this is 7,000 a month to 200,000 a month. The semantic core is kind of interesting. This is a framework that we use internally because if you think about down on the left-hand side here, if you have these, imagine a column with every single one of your child SKUs, right? On this side, you could multiply that out by all of the different campaign types that you could launch. So of course there's an automatic, which is one we've discussed. But there is a wealth, an absolute diversity of manual campaigns that you can launch. You can appear for competitors' brand terms. You could also target and show up later on a competitor's listing. You could bid on generic terms that your market uses. You could bid on misspellings of common terms, Spanish terms. You could use Amazon's dynamic bidding option to allow you to dynamically go up and optimize for top of search, for example, or you could bid more if you think you're going to get a conversion on product pages. There's so many variations of those. So if you multiply all of your SKUs by each of those variations, that is one of the keys to scaling, is that we have a methodical list of campaigns that we go, okay, auto, manual, broad phrase exact, optimize for bids, low cost. It's just a grid. It's an absolute just systematic rollout of every single campaign that you can imagine for every single product. Remember how we talked about the bank, right? The ATM machine is just as important as the teller because it could stay open 24 hours and handle all those tasks that no teller wants or can handle, and they're repetitive. We have software for that. Okay, so no human would be great at staying up all day and all night, 24 hours a day, adjusting bids up and down. I can imagine it's not pretty, but we should get more sales. It's below our target ACOS, so let me raise it by 5 cents. Right? No human is going to sit at a computer all day and do that. However, a software would be just fine to do that. Right? Same thing with I've detected 65 terms, which in the last 24 hours spent over $5 but did not result in any sales. Should we cut them? Right? That's what our software does. And our software development team is brilliant because they work directly with campaign managers and in accounts. So this isn't any theoretical software building pie in the sky sort of thing. This is we're building real software for real sellers right now, and what do you need next kind of thing. All of our ideas came from working directly with sellers, and so this is a sharpened blade that's honed down over time over the last few years. And so the other thing, though, you might be wondering, does the software just run it by itself? Absolutely not, right? Because the software is wrong sometimes. Say that there's a keyword that's very strategically important to us and we wanted to rank for it. Just because it got $10 in spend and no sales on a given day doesn't mean it should be cut. What about its lifetime history? What about that our product isn't converting as well because it's a Thursday and our sales are down on Thursdays? The manager knows this stuff because they know the brand and they've internalized all this information, so they drive the car. But the car, this is a Tesla sort of situation, right? The manager can always take control of this, and a lot of these decisions that the software is making is subject to manager approval, but the software services to surface this information. Right? Again, on the software side, you could lose thousands of dollars in a single day by not having the buy box. If you regularly do and you for now don't for some reason, because Amazon has, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Their algorithm has found a different price on eBay and that was lower than yours, and they took your buy box away, right? And now you have to lower the price. But days could go by without you noticing, and you lose all those sales forever. So to combat this, our campaign managers receive these notices every time a campaign goes out of budget, every time a listing is suspended, every time a listing loses the buy box. We're on top of this so that you don't have to be, but at least somebody is, and we can fix them same day instead of waiting days, weeks, and losing those sales. The reporting is really important because it's how you know what's going on as the process proceeds. So you get an email report every week, as well as a call every week if you'd like to. Some people are on bi-weekly, some people are on monthly. It just depends. If we're at cruising altitude, if we're just getting started, we really do sort of advocate for those weekly meetings just to make sure everything's tight and on the same page. And obviously as we get up to cruising and it's scaling, you have other things to do perhaps. Well, I know you do, right? So you might want to opt out of those, but as you wish, right? But yeah, like I have been, we're in Toronto, but I went out to California and met a seller that we've been working with for a couple of years now. Like and it's like a family reunion. Like it's great to see you guys and to spend that time and just go out to lunch and look back at how far we've come over the last few months. Like that's the best, right? So yeah. And of course planning. Okay. So we are not just going to run the ads and run the software to optimize everything. Those are good. Those are definitely the bread and butter of it. But in addition, you have a team of 20 people standing behind you to say, okay, have you thought about this? Video ads are now out. You should launch them. Have you got brand registry settled? This is really, and by the way, like we have a direct working relationship with Amazon too. Like we are in contact with them and have a bi-weekly call just to keep the pipeline open to new ideas, to new offerings. We really want this to work, and we're doing everything possible to make it work. And we're talking about that next million for you and whatever that takes. So if it's not strictly inside the scope of what we're doing, doesn't matter, right? We're looking at this more holistically, and we're looking at this in terms of producing you profit. So the service, okay. This is sort of the entire list of details of what you get with the service. Okay, so dedicated Amazon accredited campaign manager, but the work is cross-checked by me. But we also have team directors that lead the teams that the campaign managers are on. We're constantly monitoring this data, looking at sales up, down, ACOS up, down, what's going on, fix this, fix that. That's what we're doing. The keyword harvesting is obviously the foundation upon which everything is built. An increase in sales. Because as we, with the Semanticore, you can't help but increase sales if you're launching more new campaigns that are profitable for all of your SKUs. It just is impossible not to scale sales. Decrease the spend, okay? Money-saving software. So yeah, so this is more of a software thing, but we're getting lists and lists every day of stuff that has spent but hasn't got sales, right? Whether we block it or not is the campaign managers. It's at their discretion, but that's always running in the background. And again, damage prevention. If you're out of buy box, we'll know about it. Stock, budgets, suspensions, we'll know. Weekly updates. Weekly email and video updates are just important to just keep you in the loop. We talked about that. Weekly calls as well. And maybe the most important, and this is what we instill in every member of the team, is that this is your business now. If we are partnering with a seller for Amazon stuff, this is our business as well too. Because if it doesn't do badly, we'll feel horribly. And also, that's just the customers keep the lights on. We know that. And so we have to make this work, and we have to make this delivery. So in terms of next steps, if you'd like, just book a call with the team, basically. We will, be looking to run an audit process where we look at the existing historical data and see what it is that can be done. If nothing much can be done, if no value can be added, we'll let you know. If everything's perfect and shining and just fantastic, we'll let you know, and that'll be great. We don't see many of those. There's usually something that, some sort of issue. Whether or not it makes it worth it for you to do the service, that will just depend on the gravity of the issue at hand, right? So, yeah, it's probably just worth the next conversation if you'd like. So, and a couple questions that people normally ask at this point. Are you guys all software, or is there someone abroad doing the work? Nothing is outsourced. We are all based here in Toronto, Canada, and it is a conjunction of software and people. How does reporting work? So one email update a week and one video call update a week. Those are usually on 2 different days, so that's 2 different touch points per week from us. And ignore them if you'd like. Like, I know people are busy, so some people are more hands-on, some are less. It's just it depends how you work. Do you start from scratch or take on my old campaigns? I think We would love to take on and repurpose old campaigns. We will label them with an Asteroid X naming convention so you kind of know the difference if we have adopted them, because Amazon just likes the legacy campaigns for whatever reason. How long does it take to see initial results? In 30 to 60 days, we have harvested the data we need, depending on how much historical was there before. In the next 69 days after that, we've really started to scale. Have you worked in my industry? Probably yes, just because we've seen many different instances from many different industries across the years. So probably, if not that, then a close cousin to yours. So we know how to deal with it. How many hours a day are you in the account? It's important that the software runs 24/7. So in a way, it's 24/7 monitoring and action. But we work 9 to 5 in the office, Eastern Standard Time. Right. And it's important for the managers to spend time in the account every day, at least 60 to 90 minutes, depending. Again, if we're at cruising altitude, there's definitely optimizations to be made, but it's not as urgent as it's building the whole thing and getting it off the ground. How do I track your campaigns compared to mine? We have a special Asteroid X naming convention that we use to tell our campaigns apart from yours. Amazon also has portfolios, so we can sort ours into just sort of a folder if you'd like, and you can see them in there. So. And so that's really it for me. If you would like to learn what is a clear plan of action forward to really scale on a high potential channel like Amazon, just book a call and chat with the team and see what can be done. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.